Hi, I'm Dave from the Comics in Motion podcast, and you're listening to Genuine Chit-Chat.
Hello there, friends, and welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This week I am joined by my occasional co-host Megan, as well as two returning guests, Ria Carrogan and Spider-Dan. Now, any regular listeners will be aware that I spoke with Spider-Dan literally last week, so he's back again for more. And also I spoke with Ria, I think twice within fairly quick succession towards the end of 2021, and all four of us have done collaborations on the Book of Boba Fett discussion show that I did on Comics in Motion and also my YouTube channel, and lots of other things are in the pipeline. But this conversation in particular is part one of my conversation with them, because it's a nice long 2+ hour conversation about Disney movies. We're calling this kind of bracket of episodes the Disney discussion or Disney discussions. Spider-Dan has released an episode of his show a couple weeks ago with Natalie, who is Angry Andy's partner, which was a long 4-hour discussion about the qualities of certain female villains in many Disney movies. And that's kind of almost the part one of Disney discussions. We've got plenty more ideas in the pipeline, which I'll get into in the outro. But this conversation in particular is more so of a positive look at Disney. So we've each championed a certain film that's either one of our favourites or we think is one of the best Disney movies, and we speak about it. So part one, we've got Hercules and Beauty and the Beast, and then in part two, we have Moana and Tangled. So I had great fun talking with these guys about this, and as I said, we are going to do a lot more sort of Disney-esque discussions. I've got loads of other ideas for that, but if you can't wait for part two where we talk about Moana and Tangled, then please consider checking out my Patreon page, patreon.com/genuinechitchat, where the full unsplit conversation is already available. If you guys are listening to this, it's already been uploaded over there to Patreon, as well as every week you get at least one episode of mine and Megan's Afterthought show, so you get bonus content, early access, loads of other things for all as little as £1 a month. So link to that in the description, and I'll give you guys more details of that in the outro. But aside from telling you guys to follow Ria and Dan on social media because they are delightful people and listen to all of the shows they've been on, I'm just going to say thank you so much for listening as always, guys, and I'll be back at the end with more information. So here is part one of our Disney discussion.
Hello, Spider-Dan here of the Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls podcast. Just wanted to give you a quick introduction on what I do and why you should check it out. My main mission for the podcast is to spotlight the best kept secrets in entertainment that a mainstream audience may find boring. I have various guests from all walks of life, including friends, family, comic book professionals and actors, while also doing the odd solo podcast and Patreon YouTube video here and there. If you like entertaining and informative discussions and are sick of content creators covering the same old MCU and Netflix programming, take a walk on the wild and the weird side. Swing over to spiderdanandthesecretballs.com for all the information you may need, such as links to the podcast, social media accounts, and how you can support the podcast. That's spiderdanandthesecretballs.com. That's BORES. Thanks for joining me, and as always, prepare for prattle.
Welcome to Genuine Chit-Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. And I'm your host, Mike Burton. And we are here, friends, the creaky chair, first sound everyone hears. And it is a 3-guest special episode. We've got Megan, my occasional co-host, with me here.
Hello.
And we've also got Spider-Dan joining us.
Hello.
I think you were just going to wave then. And I was like, this. Although there will be video to this, guys, it is primarily audio. Yeah.
I've become a mime just for this episode. I will purely be communicating through the means of mime.
I don't think that would make a great podcast, but maybe why don't you try it out in your show? And we're also here with Ria.
Hello.
So, we decided, I was kind of inspired after Spider-Dan had a big old Disney discussion. So this would be a good way for you to plug this in an unintentional prequel to this and cause of this and kind of what your show's about as a little nice pluggy thing.
Oh, well, I've got to give credit to my guest on that particular episode. I'm not going to read off the question because it's too long and it's too complicated, and I was trying not to offend so many people. But it was basically whether or not the female villains in Disney films were a better representation of the feminist ideal. So me and Angry Andy Reviews partner Natalie, we basically went on a huge journey, therapy session, talking about all the different Disney villains, female Disney villains.
How long was it?
4+ hours initially. I managed to cut 25 minutes. Don't ask me how, but I managed to do it.
Only 25.
Only 25, but it was really good. I didn't want to cut anything really, but I was like, I can't have a 4-hour podcast. That's crazy for me, even for me. And yeah, it was her idea, so all credit to her. And it made for an amazing discussion, and we talked about all sorts of feminism and just politics in general and stuff that really pissed us off, mostly the patriarchy. And yeah, it just became a huge thing, and I've had such lovely comments from yourself, Mike, and Ria, and everybody, and Tony who's listened. So it was so good. I'm so glad I did it, and it was nice. I've been doing a lot of prison film research, so it was nice to get away from that seedy side of the world of filmmaking and dip into the Disney again.
Wonderful. And so before we kind of delve into that, Ria, did you want to tell people what you're sort of up to podcasting wise before we start?
Yes, thank you, Mike. Mike did warn me beforehand, because as we all know, I am shit at this bit. So I'm about to get Femme on Film back on track after a couple of months off, recovering from Christmas, pandemic, and now World War III. So, I thought I'd cheer us all up by trying to smash the patriarchy a bit.
That's why we need the Disney discussion.
Pop Gorillas, we have started a sort of mini Oscar season, which is really fun. I'm about to do a comic book called Habibi on Indie Comics Spotlight with Tony and lovely Blake, which is going to be really interesting discussion. I don't know what else I do. Mike, you did warn me, and they got out of my head. Oh my God, you all need to listen to 20th Century Geek. So Scott and I are talking about Mike Flanagan. We've just released part 1, which is about his films. We've got his TV shows coming up for part 2, which is much better than part 1, if I will say.
Name a couple of his films.
Oh gosh. So Oculus. So he did Dr. Sleep, although that's probably one of his worst ones. You probably want to look at Oculus, Hush, Ouija, Origin of Evil. So I've said Dr. Sleep, Gerald's Games. He's a horror director and writer. His original stuff is a lot stronger than his Stephen King adaptations. But his TV shows you probably would have heard of. So Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, and then Midnight Mass, all on Netflix. And I think he's part of this amazing new horror director, writer crowd that are doing something interesting with the genre. So go listen to me and Scott talking about that, because it's fucking awesome.
Well, I will make a note of that, and any people who are watching on YouTube can see me holding the pen to make a note of your 20th Century Geek thing for the show notes, guys. So listening right now, you can go check that out. Finish this conversation first and then go to it, please. Don't just
let's be a bit more wholesome, talking about Disney, and then go and listen to some horror and childhood trauma. It's all about childhood trauma.
Hey, well, we got into... I was going to say, there's definitely a link there.
True.
There's a lot of trauma in Disney.
Packaged up a bit more prettily, though, in Disney.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, it depends which Disney films. I mean, the further back you go, it does get... I mean, with Disney films nowadays, it's kind of darkness at the start and it gets lighter, whereas you go back and it's a bit different. But we decided... we were talking in Discord, the three of us, plus Megan, who is chiming in occasionally, because she doesn't join our Discord channel, listeners. She's out of the Comics in Motion family loop. She refuses.
I'm like the estranged family member.
I was going to say more like the cool family member, like you're just sort of like off doing your own cool thing.
I'm like
cool aunt.
I'm like Bruno in Encanto.
We don't talk about Bruno, no.
Don't talk about Megan.
So you
don't talk about Bruno.
You're like 7 foot tall with rats up your back.
So long is back.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like.
That's cool. How very relevant. Nicely done. So we were chatting and things, and we were talking about some of our favourite movies. And I think Scott of 20th Century Geek, huzzah, spoke about Hercules as well. And I know, Dan, you were watching it too. No, sorry, was. Dan was the one who watched it. And then Scott of 20th Century Geek confirmed he loved the movie, which surprised me. That's why I prioritise him first. I'm sorry, Dan. But Dan's been watching Disney movies, so it's him. And once again, because the prequel thing put it in our minds, and then he mentioned about watching Hercules.
Bringing it back to me. I've showed people on the Discord, I've been ruining Disney films for my sister because she's a huge Disney nerd. And I've been saying, like, there's a reason there was no sequel to Hercules because you find out in the myth that he murders his wife and children thanks to Hera. So who is Meg in the Hercules film, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a little bit. But yeah, just things like that. Just pulling up all these like dark or weird and wacky things just to ruin it for her. And she's like, stop doing it, you twat.
We've done more research about this than I have, because I did look up a little bit of Hercules. We can get into Hercules because Dan's already, because that's how it kind of started, I suppose. So each kind of vaguely champion, like one, each of us have got a favourite sort of Disney movie. We loosely was kind of like two 2D animated, two 3D animated, and we all kind of chose one. And so my one that I'm championing is Hercules. So I've written down this. How long they all are, and the release dates. So this is an hour and 33 minutes long, and 1997 this one came out. So, it's not as old as Beauty and the Beast, but it is one of the older ones. And rewatching this again with Megan, we've in our relationship, which is nearly 4 years, we've already watched Hercules at least once before as well.
At least once before.
Yeah, and it's like Zero to Hero comes on all the time. And it's just one of those films where I've watched it. I used to have it on VHS, and so I think this was like most people from like most millennials, especially from the 90s, have got those films which are like the film they watched over and over and over again in their childhood. And there's one Disney film people normally have. And mine was Hercules, I think. And I think, like, your brother, for example, is Aladdin's.
I think my brother's would either be Aladdin or Hercules. So along with that, mine probably is up there with Hercules. Yeah. I did watch it a lot.
But Lion King, I think you watched quite a lot as well, didn't you?
It depends. I hate it when people ask me what's your favourite Disney film, because it will depend on my mood.
Absolutely.
Like, it completely depends on my mood. Yeah. I love Hercules, but sometimes my favourite Disney film will be The Little Mermaid. It won't always be that. Sometimes it will be Tangled. Sometimes it will be Hercules. Sometimes it will be Aladdin. It depends on where you get me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But Hercules is always going to be one of the top ones for me.
Yeah. And it's like I've vaguely written down sort of some points that a lot of these films have sort of in common. Music of all of these films that we're tackling is obviously quite a big part, and it's a big part of most Disney films. And funnily enough, with the 2 3D movies we chose two of the only ones that aren't Disney Pixar, oddly enough. So these are all purebred Disney movies, which really surprised me. So if we get up Ria with Hercules, when did you watch it when it was out in the cinema? What's your first sort of experience with Hercules?
So I definitely didn't see it in the cinema, but I saw it when it would have come out on VHS, because I am old.
I had it on VHS.
So same here.
Yeah. Because, it would have been the thing that your parents get you out of Disney film at the weekend to keep you entertained whilst they have a well-earned rest. But for me, when I was younger, I never really enjoyed Hercules. I think it was part of the period of Disney where they'd had The Lion King in 1994, I want to say, and that was pinnacle Disney. Like, that was the best Disney film that had come out ever. Like, that's how the world saw it, whether you agree or not. And and then it was followed up by Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame. Neither were as successful, neither as big. So I guess we could say it's maybe like a dark, less successful period for Disney. And then Hercules came out. And, I remember watching it and not really liking it, but not really thinking too much about it. And then, as we all do as we grow up, we revisit Disney films. And then as soon as I hit my 20s and watching Hercules, it's like, this film is amazing. It's so good. And it's such a strange film within Disney. It is a Disney film, but it doesn't fully feel like a Disney film. There's something just a little bit offbeat about it, which is what I think I really like. I think it's so strange because it brings in like pure comedy elements. We've got like Danny DeVito, and it's not, there is a love story, but it's, it's not a female protagonist falling in love, although, a different discussion about whether Disney females are protagonists or not. And then watching it again for this, I was like, it's such a weird film. I love it. Like, I really love it. It feels sort of like it could have been along the lines of sort of some of the animation studios that brought out like Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. So they brought out some sort of like
Mike hates that film.
I do.
Because it's terrible. Because
Oh no!
I'm sorry.
How dare you?
It's one of Megan's like musicals. I've been trying to get into musicals more.
Only because, I mean, to be fair, like I rewatched it with Mike. Mike watched it for the first time, and he absolutely hated it. I loved that film as a kid, so I had a copy of it at VHS at my mum's house, or at my house, and then I had a copy of it VHS at my grandparents' house as well, so that I could watch it wherever I went.
I mean, that's so adorable.
I loved that film. So when I rewatched it with Mike, I appreciate that it isn't the best musical, but for nostalgic purposes, I felt warm inside.
I would argue,
totally, that's lovely.
Aside from Cats, it's probably the worst musical, I'd say. I'd argue that. Donny Osmond's got a great singing voice, but I would say that apart from that one element, the rest of it is bad. Anyway, sorry, Ria, we interrupted you with a little side story about us. Sorry, with
But that's how I feel about like Sword in the Stone, the Aristocats, and stuff like that. I loved them as a kid. Like I was obsessed with them, and I watched them as a grown up, and I'm just like, they're not that great, like really. But I think there's just something about Hercules. Like there's things that they do, which you watch as grown up, like sort of like really cleaning up Zeus and his little act. Apparently he was happily married, was he? And loved all of his children, did he? But there's stuff like that, sort of like, sort of raise a bit of an eyebrow at. But there's something just about it that, like, the animation all feels slightly off, but in a good way. It all feels really flat, but as if it's painted on a Greek vase or something like that. And it really works when you watch it, especially as a grown-up, and as an adult. I don't know why I keep calling myself a grown-up. And there's the music in it. I don't think there are songs that are pure belters. You're not going to sit there and be like singing it out to like the crowds. But there's something really special about Go the Distance and how it is throughout the whole film, and you just hear the notes of it come through at really poignant moments in the film, and it works so well. It ties it all together. I just think it's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of that, apart from the thing you said about the music. How dare you. Zero to Hero is that song.
There are
Zero to Hero is fantastic.
I would argue one of the best Disney songs.
The Danny DeVito song you could have cut.
Yeah. So you want to be a hero, kid? Well,
well, we've got Danny DeVito here in the studio. So.
Danny, that absolutely fucked my voice.
I love Danny DeVito, but he's not a singer. He is a director. He is an actor. He is a performer, but he's not a singer. I'm sorry.
That's correct.
Should I talk about it? Should I go?
Yeah, I thought it was a good, nice segue. I was going to let you just go straight into it, and then you're like became self-conscious.
No, I've ruined it. I've ruined the night. I agree with Ria. I think it is a little bit of an off-kilter one. It almost kind of is a Disney princess. Hercules is a Disney princess in a sense, because it is that same story of longing and wanting to belong and find your place in the world. And I think, again, going off what Ria said about when I was a kid, I did go see this at the cinema, but I had gotten really into at school. Like one of the only subjects I was ever interested in was Greek mythology, because I went,
same.
This stuff is great. This is like monsters and heroes and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, and it had a bit of like edge to it as well. At the time, I was like, oh, this is edge. Later on, I go, that's not edge. That's just horribleness. It's all the horribleness. But I was like, oh, this is a little, this is edgy stuff we were being taught in school. I kind of like that element of it. So when I went to see Hercules, I was kind of expecting maybe them. Obviously, it's a Disney version of Hercules. And I think I'd also been watching the legendary journeys of Hercules in the early 90s with an actor we don't really want to talk about anymore, Kevin Sorbo. And that was by Sam Raimi. I had Bruce Campbell, Xena and all that. That was all kind of quite, a bit gritty. So I think when I went to see this, I was expecting it to be a bit more kind of like, a bit more grit. But obviously it's painted over with the Disney lens and the, all that sort of stuff. Coming back to it recently, I did really appreciate. I think the music is good. I think the is it the Muses? Is it the Muses there? Yeah, fantastic, amazing. But I really like Meg's song about not falling in love as well. It's like I love that she's like the complete kind of flip of what previous Disney heroines were. Like she's jaded, she's sarcastic. She, sticks up for herself. She comments on the misogyny of that giant horse centaur man. If they can, I'm sure that they can commit misogyny because that's what they were doing. And I love that element. I think it's a good kind of. There's a real character there, and I love that kind of. There's a lot of this talk about the earlier Disney princess not having that much edge, or falling into the kind of damsel in distress sort of thing. She even comments on that in the film, and I like that. I like her story and her arc. Within it, I think one of the best things they do in it, to take out all the Greek mythology ickiness, we'll call it, is actually transplant a lot of the Superman story into Hercules, because he is a lost child from a civilization. He goes to Earth. He's adopted by loving human parents. He feels out of place. He is incredibly strong and feels like he doesn't belong there. He's not found his place in the world. So there's a lot of that, which I think really is a lot of the glue to this story and holds it together. Again, another actor we probably do want to talk about, but don't want to talk about, is James Woods. And I think he gives an excellent performance in this. I do think it's a credible, funny, menacing performance as Hades. However, the actor himself I'm not a big fan of, and I think if you Google him a little bit, you'll find out why he's not so good. But yeah, I think there is something, again, like just off in the good way. It's not the classic Disney model, and I think that is to its strength. I think you see a lot of the kind of the beginnings and the kind of internals of what would like turn into a Tarzan-like film.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of Tarzan here. You can see the kind of beginnings of that, and obviously they go a little bit more serious and a little bit more goofy at the same time in some aspects of that film. But there's definitely some of that foundation, let's call it, there. So, but yeah, it's a fun film. I like it. And again, you do get a bit of the goriness. You get the Hydra battle, which I think is pretty cool. It's pretty.
The action's really good for a Disney film of that time. The action's fantastic. It's really well edited. You can follow it all, and it's just really well presented.
Well, I was going to say, I want to get Megan's thoughts on this, but I will just quickly add two little things beforehand. One of the directors of this film is also the director of The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and Treasure Planet and The Princess and the Frog and Moana.
Nice.
So almost all the best considered Disney films. His name is Ron Clements, and then the other co-director was John Musker, who seems to have done all those films as well. So it's a duo, those two. But the thing I was going to say before letting Megan give her opinion is the animation style. I just want to say that what I've noticed in this film, and I think it did it in Beauty and the Beast a bit, but not as much, was that the things in the foreground, the characters, all the things at the front, all the colouring in that is block colour. So you notice that it's block, or it's someone like drawn a line of another colour over it, whereas all the backgrounds are used like water painted sort of backdrops and things, and it helps bring a level of sort of artificial 3D to it. Is what I've kind of noticed, is because they're slightly different styles and it pops out a bit more. It's like having text in bold. They have that in Hercules and like the way they outline things as well, and I really love that, even though some of the 3D animation, especially in the films we're going to talk about, like the bloody water in Moana, Jesus, that sort of stuff. In Hercules, it's simple, but when they have to make it more complicated, like the Hydra and things, it's so well done. Megan, any thoughts on that? And then the general film Hercules.
I like Hercules.
Cool, thanks, Megan. Right, next.
Move on.
I find it difficult because obviously, like, both Ria and Dan have just given like this really like intricate explanation as to their opinions and analysis of the films, and I'm like, I like it.
When did you first watch Hercules?
Oh, I have no idea when I first watched it.
So it's just always been
it's just always been in the background. It's always been one of those films that my brother and I have liked. Like so we watched it on Valentine's Day just by chance that it was that day.
Yeah.
And I think I put it on Facebook, and like the first comment that I got in a response, I said, like, Valentine's Day, what they're watching Hercules is the perfect movie, whatever. And my brother commented saying, I think you mean Hercules. Like,
Oh my god,
it's just one of
his fits.
Oh, see, I disagree.
So
I don't
beautiful.
think he's attractive.
What?
No.
He's drawn really beautifully, I think.
I think Meg's drawn very beautifully.
Oh yeah,
Meg-
Meg's stunning.
And
Meg
Meg is
is fit.
absolutely stunning. She is like the hottest.
And
Isn't
her
she?
personality
she's-
really helps as well.
Yeah, she's carved out of marble. She's my type. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're my type, Megan.
Oh,
Yeah, Megan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Ah,
Yeah.
except no one calls me Meg,
No,
Oh.
not really.
and nor would I want them to.
Is it Megara? Is that her full name?
Megara.
Yeah,
I think
It is
Megara.
Megara.
Megara. I call you Megano.
You do.
Because Megano oregano, but that's a different thing. She's Italian for people who don't know.
Anyway, I like this film.
Are you being racist, Mike?
Yes.
Well, they pronounce it oregano. That's kind of why the Americans.
You know what? I'm a little bit
I don't
Italian
pronounce
too.
it like that.
How do they pronounce it?
Oregano.
That's right.
Anyway, right.
Okay. Anyway, lost that completely. Hercules. You obviously you've known about you watched
This-
it since you were a kid. So what is it? How do you think it ranks against some of the other Disney films?
It's always going to be one of my favourites. It's the same thing when we talk about Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I like this film because of nostalgic reasons as well. Like, I like the quotability of it. Like, the fact that the muse goes, I think you mean Hercules. It's great. I love it. It makes me laugh. And I think Hades is such a good villain.
Yes.
Like, he is by far one of the best Disney villains because he's so ridiculously sarcastic. Like, he actually has, like, some personality to him, whereas there are, like, other Disney villains that kind of fall a bit flat.
He's got a lot of levels, hasn't he? He plays and he's constantly going through them, and you can tell that as well visually because of the flame gets hotter the angrier it gets.
And the animation of that is different styling as well. That's kind of that partial 3D-ish kind of fire on there, which I think works really well as well with it all. And obviously, you guys have mentioned there's an all-star cast. We mentioned the animation style, and it is funny. There's a couple of like little moments I noticed. There was one which is probably my favourite thing I hadn't noticed before, but I think you two will probably know this, which is when Hercules. I think when he pushes everything down and everything. It's when Panic and the other one, Panic and Pain. Couldn't think what it was. It's quite obvious now. When they become kids and they go in the cave, and it's before the Hydra stuff. One of them yells, "Call IXII," and that's 911. Or I may have written it down wrong, but it's 911, which it was. I've completely messed that up. Everyone's staring at me now. I was like, I just thought that was funny.
It
saying
is
in
funny.
Roman numerals.
It is funny.
Your delivery just was,
Awful.
It's because you doubted yourself at the end. We could all feel it.
I was like, I'm talking and trying to work out what 911 is in Roman numerals.
In
I was like, yes.
American.
It's because 911's American. It's not 999, and that's what I was getting confused with. I was like, no, but 999 would be XI. Like, no, because it's American. That's why it threw me right off.
Anyway.
Damn Americans.
One other thing that I really like in Hercules that makes me laugh a lot is the guy who comes out with the trench coats and he's like, "You want to buy a sundial?"
That bit really made me laugh as well. That's like brilliant.
I've just confused a bit from because I've watched all these Disney films like back to back. I confused a bit from Hunchback that was in Hercules, which is the guy who falls out of it. He gets released out of the manacles and he's like, "I'm free!"
Oh, yeah.
And then he falls into another trap. He's like, darn it.
A very, very underrated Disney movie. I love Hunchback.
I hadn't seen that since I saw it at the cinema, which was 1997, and this was about the age where I was kind of going like, again, I was like, I want grittier, more violent adult things. Unbeknownst to me, when I went to watch it back, I was like, oh, it starts with racially aggravated murder and baby drowning. Okay, why did I think this wasn't gritty enough for me? In 1997, I was like, this is like, it's not enough. I need more blood and guts.
I went to World Book Day in year 3 dressed as Esmeralda.
Did anybody raise an eyebrow?
No, I don't really think anyone knew who I was, to be honest. Everyone else was dressed up as like Harry Potter, and I'm there as like Esmeralda.
Well, Hunchback of Notre Dame, it's an underrated Disney film that is really good. I mean, it's not quite Hercules, let's be honest here. Hercules is
I mean, it might be as good as Hercules if it did have gargoyles in it.
Yeah.
They are absolutely atrocious.
you despise the gargoyles of the Hunchback. I've only
You're
seen that
broken
film.
today.
Yeah, I am. It's because I'm chewing gum and it's throwing off my how it's working.
You're chewing gum on a podcast. How dare you?
I've got a bit of a dry throat, and it's just if I chew gum,
there was when I was watching it again, I was like, oh right, they're burning down people and locking them in their houses in the Hunchback. They're literally burning families alive. And the gargoyles go, you know what? We need an upbeat song to cheer up Quasimodo right now as Paris is burning. No. Not the right time, guys.
And Megan's like, yes, best film ever.
Esmeralda.
I will say, with back to Hercules, one of my favourite scenes. You don't need to ever apologise at all.
You mean Hunchbackules?
No, I don't actually. In Hercules, one of my favourite moments is arguably the most harrowing moment of the whole film, which is when he swims into River Styx, and he just gets older and older as he grabs Meg's soul. It
is brutal.
You still, even today, I'm like, Jesus, and it's so emotional, and you can feel it, and you're like, he could die here. Obviously, as an
Spoiler.
Adult, as an adult, it's like he's not going to die, is he? Spoiler. No one who's listening to us talk about Hercules.
Hercules doesn't die.
97.
The hero in the film that it's named after does not die.
Spoiler alert. I don't know if there are many films that happens, but I don't want to ask I don't want anyone to tell me if there are because I can't think of any. Yeah, because if I can't think of any, and then you go, oh, this one that Mike hasn't seen, it's like, uh-oh.
I mean, there's probably a few biopics that happened with. I'll be honest.
Nice. But yeah, that's one. I think with Hercules, we can move on to the next one after I ask you guys, are there any sort of final thoughts or any favourite parts of Hercules, or even any parts that you weren't as fussed on? But if you do that, I'm going to kind of zoom past you quite quickly, because I'm a simp for Hercules.
Only positive shit here.
No, not necessarily.
Just the muses are amazing. The muses are like one of the best bits in it.
Yeah,
the muses and Meg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I quite like at the end, because you think after the whole Titan plot and, also the gods, I don't know how they beat the Titans in the first place, because they're useless.
So
absolutely
useless.
fucking useless at fighting them this
time. They all
time.
get caught in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, they're like, and Zeus throws lightning bolts and they don't work, and then Hercules releases them and they're like, oh, they work now.
Weird. Oh, that's his only power. It's like, you literally are basically God. You created everything.
Yeah,
you can't do anything other than throw lightning bolts someone else makes for you.
Also, is it Hephaestus?
Hephaestus, yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy that's making all the bolts, isn't he? He's like 5 of them. Like, that's literally your job.
Just keep doing it.
You are not good at your job.
You've got immortal life and you don't do anything with it. What are you doing?
You need a performance review.
But yeah, I was just saying that after that finale and like Hades is over, it's done and dusted. I love that you have the kind of like the epilogue with the diving into the river Styx and stuff, because it's quite, you have the big bombastic thing, but you have this quiet moment and you get the villain to be a little bit more villainous and a bit conniving, and he could still win. And then obviously it doesn't, but there is that little kind of epilogue to it, which I quite like, because normally it would just be like, that's the end, roll credits sort of thing. Hercules is a god, saved. And I also like the fact that he believes, like the trope of believing what everybody else is saying, or believing what society believes you to be, or what a hero should be. It's like, well, that's not going to get you into Olympus, because that's not what a hero is. But everyone told me I'm a hero. I've done all the things. I've killed all the beasts. I've done all the tasks. But it's not enough. You've got to do other stuff. You've got to find the hero within yourself.
I think you're going to sing then.
And then maybe later. Maybe we'll say that later. But yeah, no, I like that as well.
Yeah, I love Hercules. I think it's one of my favourites. I don't necessarily think it's the best, but there is a film in this discussion which I do think is the best Disney film. Maybe ever, but I think none we didn't mention here so far for me is, I think, Toy Story 1 or 2, but Monsters Inc., I think. And I mean, Bugs Life.
That's Disney Pixar.
Yeah, I know, Bugs Life. They're all pretty special as well. I think they're some of the best Disney films as well. But I think the only other question I've got regarding Hercules would just be, would anyone actually want a live action of this? Because I keep hearing rumours and getting semi-excited, and then I rewatch this and I'm like, the only reason I'd even want one is to watch the same plot again and different. But I know I wouldn't like it as much, and I know they'd ruin the songs. Because if they did what they did with Mulan, and basically go, hey, here's all the fun, out. And then what's left is a really average martial arts film, but with no edge to it at all, and it's worse than every other film of this genre ever made. Yeah. So why would you ever watch it if it has no charm? And that's what I worry if they do a thing with Hercules, is if they do a Mulan on it, it's like, no, you need the music.
They'll He-Man it. They'll He-Man Masters of the Universe, which I love that film from my childhood, but I don't want Hercules to be made as Dolph Lundgren as Hercules.
Yeah, that would be bizarre. But let's move on. So, one of you two. So, next on my list is actually Beauty and the Beast. That wasn't I think that's just the order we watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the order that we watched.
If you are both okay with Beauty and the Beast next, and then I should have said Dan and then not revealed it.
Oh, it's me.
Sorry.
And I'm wearing.
We're talking about the 1991 animated version.
Yes,
because I haven't seen the live action remake.
Let's get that. You know, there's thoughts and feelings about that in comparison to this, but we won't go into it. But Beauty and the Beast, a tale as old as time, or as old as 1991. So Beauty and the Beast, I think, was arguably one of the stronger films to come out of what we call the Disney Renaissance. So you've had quite a long period. I think it's between, they call the Disney quote-unquote dark age from 1966 to about 88. So that was a long period that was considered the dark age. And this was kind of part and parcel of them going, right, we want to capture that, the beauty, the grandeur, the epicness, and the wholesomeness of kind of the Sleeping Beauty type films of that era. They're like, let's bring it in Cinderella, or let's bring it all back to that. And this was their attempt. But obviously, it was obviously changed. It was altered. Times have moved on. So they've done the Little Mermaid, which, excuse the pun, but I think Little Mermaid was the dry run, if you will, for this film. Because I mean, there's no film without talking about the leading character, which is Belle. I think Belle is not only the kind of catalyst, she's the main character, she leads the film, she drives the plot, she is the film. I think without Belle, you've not got a film straight away. There is nothing there. And I think she is arguably the most progressive Disney character at that point. I think she is constantly challenged by society's expectations, the patriarchal society, what all the idiot men in the film and idiot, living objects and furniture and cutlery, think she should be doing and acting and saying, and there's all this thing she should be. I still don't kind of get why the village thinks she's so odd, because I'm like, she just likes to read. It's not that odd.
Because women aren't meant to read. I mean,
yeah, because at that time,
Dan.
women weren't.
Yes.
They weren't supposed to read, because
of course.
Having an education. They don't want women to have an education. You just be pretty. You learn how to pour tea. You learn how to make your children be quiet so they don't annoy anybody in the village.
And more importantly, if you don't get them to read, then they are trapped inside the home. They can't learn anything to actually get them out of the box you've put them in. And,
amazing.
You entrap someone with education, stop them learning, it makes them less likely to be able to escape your clutches.
For some reason, even though this is God knows when in France, I was looking at it through modern eyes then. I was like, women always read. In 1991, women were reading. I remember women reading
back then.
They were well into it. It was a big thing back then. And I think one of the best kind of culture clashes or ideal clashes in this film is the pairing of Gaston, who is this overbearing, horrific, patriarchal misogynist, is only interested in Belle for her looks and her beauty, and not about her mind, her intelligence, her will, her character. And I love Belle so much, and I think that is probably why I'm not so keen on the remake of it, because it's such her character is a great thing about Belle, about another of a million things, but she doesn't really have a character arc in this. Everyone else changes around her, especially the Beast. Because she is already set. This is her. She has decided who she wants to be, how she wants to live her life, what she wants to do with it, and everyone else is moved or changed or, destroyed in some cases in relation to Belle. Like, the world does revolve around her. The story does revolve around her, and I love that, the fact that to have such a great fully fledged character at the beginning, and to get that across so quickly. And it's not a long film; it is a short film, and they were able to do that. And I'm even wearing blue in respect to Belle, because nobody else other than the Beast, after he's fallen in love with her, wears blue in the film, if you notice. And I love the idea of feeling like the odd one out, the odd duck, not feeling right, always feeling like you're, the Beast represents that as well, like physically, like he changes emotionally and physically throughout the film, psychologically, and everything happens because of Belle, and the story's pushed forward because of Belle and the things she wants. And I think it's just incredible, just based on that character alone. I think you do not get your Moanas, you do not get your Rapunzels, you don't get any of that without Belle. Belle walked so they could run.
Including Meg, because this film predated that.
That's right, Meg as well. All of the Disney heroines after that, I think, owe something to the Little Mermaid a little bit. I'm not saying that Little Mermaid's bad, but I think Belle absolutely nailed. They got exactly what they wanted to get out of that film. That's what I believe.
I will mention that Beauty and the Beast was 91, and it's, I think, an hour and 24 minutes from that. But Megan, Ria, one of you? Okay, Ria then.
I want you to go first, because we had a chat in Discord. Unfortunately, you weren't involved, Megan, because you're the cool auntie. So I'd like you to go next, because I thought you had an interesting opinion on Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
Did I?
Was it
no,
me,
as in Mike.
Oh, right. I was going to say. I was like, I don't think I've said anything interesting.
Megan, tell me.
I realised there's two of you on the screen, and you also can't see me looking directly at Mike.
Yeah, the one that you're pointing to on the screen. Yes.
One there,
well, Megan, do you want to say, what was the thing that you were surprised about when we watched Beauty and the Beast? I don't
remember.
The actor.
What actor?
The one actress in...
Oh, right. So I was like, we're about to watch Beauty and the Beast, and I was like, yes, give me Angela Lansbury. Can't wait to have Angela Lansbury. And Mike's like, who's Angela Lansbury? And I'm like, it's fucking Jessica Fletcher. I'm like, it's Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote. And he's like, who's Jessica Fletcher? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? But then we met up with our friends, and I told this exact story, hoping for the reaction that I got from you two. And I said the exact same thing, and they were like, who's Angela Lansbury? And I was like, Jessica Fletcher. And they were like, we don't know who that is. I was like, what's going on? I was like, it's Jessica Fletcher.
And Mike, have you seen Bedknobs and Broomsticks?
That's exactly why I asked him as well.
I think I might have done when I was like
bobbing along the bottom of the beautiful briny sea.
In my mind, I can remember at least a clip of it, and I don't think I've ever watched a trailer for it. So I think I've seen it.
Mike, you have to watch Angela Lansbury fight the Nazis.
She does.
What?
Yeah,
pretty fucking good at it.
That is a fucking Disney film where the Nazis are the villains. You have to see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she has a car that releases like a weird yellow fume, and it smells like sulfur.
and it's a Disney film where a little boy talks about rubbing his knob.
What is happening? Why are you guys? I don't understand.
It's a bed knob, Mike. It's a bed knob.
Bed knobs and broomsticks.
I thought there was actually a scene where.
It's not one of those. It's not one of those films.
Just to have a little boy wanking.
I mean, like Shrek, like innuendo. The insinuation of it. That's what I thought he was getting at.
It's not one of those Disney films that needs to be cancelled. Don't worry. It's just a bed knob. He rubs a bed knob. It's magic.
I mean, we do need to do Jessica Fletcher podcast now. Like we just have, like,
She Wrote.
I'm sorry. I can't get.
Wait. I've got it.
I don't know who Jessica Fletcher is. That's why I just couldn't talk then.
I've got it. Murder She Podcasts. Murder She Podcasts.
Oof, that's rough.
Done.
Such good shit.
All right.
Anyway,
Podcast She Wrote. Would that not make more sense?
Fuck you. You've had like another 30 seconds to think of that before I did. All right, that was right off the top of my head, the tippy top.
I didn't want to do an Angela Lansbury podcast
because you're not good enough.
I'm sorry. Right, this is becoming Angela Lansbury podcast. Everyone can get
now. We have to stop this discussion and change course. But anyway, Angela Lansbury, the person that I didn't really know anything about,
plays the teapot.
He plays the teapot.
Mrs. Potts, yeah,
Mrs.
love
Potts,
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to say anything else before? I think I remember what I was going to say about it.
The only thing that I'm going to say, and this is something that you said to me, is where are all our children? Like,
so weird, isn't it?
Like she has.
Don't think too hard about it. It's really disturbing.
She has Chip. She's like, go on, get to bed. It's getting late. And then she's like, join the others that are sleeping. And then when they turn human again, there's only one kid. Like, what happened to all the other children?
They're all crumbed in like that in the cupboard, like crushed up.
Also, why does Chip have an American accent?
Yeah.
Why is Chip the only one she likes and gets out?
Yeah. And why does Chip... Obviously, his name is Chip, so that is the reason he has a chip. But what is the equivalent of that as him as a human? Like, surely he must have some sort of...
Oh! I read this today.
Really?
On the IMDb. He's got, when he comes back at the end, he's got a chip in his tooth.
Yeah, he's got chip too.
But I was expecting him to come back and he's just got his head's cracked open. He's just like, Mom! Belle!
I cracked as a cup. You shouldn't have changed me back.
Why did you do this to me?
Are they're like immortal? Are they immortal?
It's. I'll be honest. The enchantment of it doesn't really make sense. Yeah,
that's where the film for me is.
I'm sorry. Mike wants realism in a Disney film with magic.
Oh, consistency. I want to understand what's going on. I want to understand why there was one scene of Angela Lansbury taking Chip to bed, showing maybe hundreds of cups for literally no reason apart from to put him to bed, which, yeah, children go to bed. Big whop. Big whop?
Big whop.
Big whop. What are those big old whops? No, big whoop. That happens, and it's just like, why? Why show us that? And then at the end, not show us an ocean of children running when Chip was okay. I mean, like, because, oh my God, my brothers and sisters, yeah.
Because it would cost too much money, Mike. That was it.
That's what I said. I was like, they have to pay people if they have speaking roles.
Yeah, but why even show that scene of the minute?
I've done a lot of research on IMDb, and I learned that they made a full script before they started animating this, because notoriously the Disney animators got a little too into it and would overrun and would make too much stuff, animate too much stuff, and they'd have to cut it. And they're like, we're not paying you to make this stuff we're not going to use, so stick to the script. But with Beauty and the Beast as well, I think you have to talk about the music, because I think with all these Disney films that we're talking about, the music is a key part, and it is in some ways kind of more important than the script or the story or some of the comedy moments or the character moments, because the like a good musical, it tells you everything you need to know about the characters, and unlike all the other choices you guys have brought to the table, mine's won Oscars.
Has Moana not?
I mean, I would like to talk about Oscar wins if that's what you want to do. If you want to go down that road, sir.
Mine's won the Oscars.
That's a different podcast.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Oscar snubs, pop gorillas.
Oscar snubs. Check it out, right? But yeah, like it won. So it was the first animated movie ever to be nominated for Best Picture. And that didn't happen again until 2010 with Up. So that's a good 20 years or so, I think, if my maths is right. It was nominated for Best Score that it won. Oh, by the way, it lost out to Silence of the Lambs. So you can have that comparison in your head. Which one's better, Beauty and the Beast or
Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, probably. A very, very different film, though.
Yeah. Not the same mood. If I'm in the mood for a Disney film,
yeah, I don't know if I
would double bill them for my 3-year-old.
I was going to say Buffalo Bill's not exactly the Disney princess, is he?
He wants to be.
As she walks around going, rub the lotion on your skin. Imagine if it did that and she rocked up to nursery.
Tale as old as time, rub the lotion on the skin. But yeah, I love it. Speaking of Angela Lansbury as well, I've got all these IMDb facts I've memorized. She wasn't supposed to sing the title song that won the Oscar, Beauty and the Beast. She was like, I think that's better for another character. And they were like, we'll get you to sing the backing track. And they were like, no, okay then. She sung the backing track, did it in one take, and they went, that's perfect. That's going in the film.
Wow.
And this is why Angela Lansbury.
She's the
fantastic.
Goat. She is the goat.
My perspective is that the music in Beauty and the Beast isn't that good.
I'm
sorry. When I say it's not that good, I'll reiterate. It's because what I said to them in the Discord. Is what in Discord is one of the points I made where I was. For me, I don't think this hit the same heights as a lot of the other Disney films. But then again, I suppose around the 90s, I'm just kind of cherry picking all the best ones. Sort of Aladdin, Lion King, Hercules. Whereas there's the sort of the more middle ground ones. I don't remember liking Pocahontas that much. When was Sword in the Stone? Was that 80s or was that way back?
I think that's like 50s, 60s, I think.
Yeah, Sword in the Stone is old.
I used to just watch that a lot as a kid. I can't remember. But anyway, with it, I found that I don't think the music's bad.
The songs in Sword in the Stone are awful. So
I wasn't thinking of that.
63, Sword in the Stone was.
63.
Thank you, Ria. No, with the music, the first song or two I think are good. I think that the Belle Walk Around the Village song is good, and I think there's the one where all the objects all sing.
Yeah, be our guest.
I thought Be Our Guest. Yeah, I thought
guest.
I thought that was that was.
Be our guest, to be our guest, to put your service to the test.
That
exactly.
one. I thought that was good, but
I can't sing. I don't know why I keep on singing.
Do
it's
it.
Fun. It's
You've got to. It's
Stop.
Disney. It brings it out in you.
I think that I've written specific notes about this, which is I think the Beast singer sounds really weird and doesn't sound anything like the Beast. I don't know if it is the same person.
To be fair, I did make that comparison as well. It didn't sound like it was the same actor.
I don't know if it is. I think it might be, but I know that I know when he becomes human again, and I know Ria doesn't fancy the human Beast.
Beast is hot.
I agree.
Beast.
Yeah. Beast.
Yes. He's kind of like a giant Wookiee, isn't he? Really, just a bit more like a Wookiee lion.
I know they put lots of effects on his voice. It is his normal voice, but they put a lot of effects on him when he's the Beast. And I know when he's thinking during the kind of the Winter Wonderland scene, that's his normal voice because that's in his head. But I'm not sure if it's the same as the singing voice. I'm not sure.
I will say though, "Kill the Beast." I think that was probably my favourite song. Yeah, it was probably the shortest as well. Like I don't think the music...
My brother's favourite song is the Gaston song.
That's the best song. The Gaston song is the best song. Absolutely, it tells you everything you need to know. That song. That's why it's so good.
I want to clarify. I don't think the music in this is bad. I want to clarify
you do.
that.
You hate Beauty and the Beast.
I just think that there's certain songs which I do like them, and I thought it was, but after I've listened to it, now that it's over, there's nothing that makes me want to go back and listen to them. Whereas I found with most other Disney films, there's really, really memorable. Like I remember how the song goes immediately after, or I have a real desire. I think me and Dan probably just feel about music about Hercules and Beauty and the Beast just swapped a bit. Whereas I'm like, no, Hercules, damn you, and you're like, no, it's Beauty and the Beast. What an Oscar! How dare you, sir?
I will say it's very much like a musical because it is kind of a little samey, a lot of the songs.
Yes.
But they are varied, but it's the same style. And I think with Hercules, it's very varied in its style. So
that's probably what I like the most.
You have the ballads, you have the kind of the gospel version as well. But it is very much like, oh, this is the music from the same musical by the same writers. You can tell that's organic. I'm going to make you feel really bad now, Mike. Because one of the guys who wrote the music, he died before he got his Oscar.
Oh,
that's sad. Thanks for that, Dan.
Yeah, and you hate his music, so how do you feel now?
How do you feel? And his partner went up on stage and accepted it for him because he wasn't there.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, he did a great job, and he deserved, recognition. I'm sure it probably was the best. I'm sure it was probably the best musical. I don't know what films came out in 1991 that were musical. So, good job to him. Is there anything you want to add? Because I know Ria has got some things to say about music.
I just want to say,
sorry, Mike. That was very mean.
No, you don't need to ever apologise to me. It's all right. You'll never offend me at all. You don't need to. It's be fine.
In the Gaston song, how many eggs does he say he eats?
5 dozen eggs.
That is an insane amount of eggs. You and I were like,
how he gets large.
Was it 6 dozen? Because I remember it was.
Or maybe it's 6 dozen.
6 dozen eggs every day.
But as a child, he said he had 2 dozen eggs.
Yeah, as a child, he had 2 dozen eggs.
Oh.
That was the only bit. That was the other bit that really made me laugh.
No wonder he's not mentally well. Like that's got to affect you somehow.
It's a crazy amount of eggs.
Yeah, definitely.
He's probably crazier than old crazy Maurice. I mean, he's the crazy one.
Oh, I love Maurice.
Crazy.
Which one's Maurice?
The
crazy
dad.
old Maurice.
The inventor.
That was Dad.
It's because you called him Crazy Maurice. I was thinking
That's
of someone
what
who
the
was
villagers call him.
No, but I was thinking of someone who was actually mental in Disney, and I was going, who's all the crazy characters I know of in Disney? And I was like, oh yeah, because Maurice. I was like, he basically looks like the dad, the in Aladdin. I was like, I think they used the exact same.
Yeah,
literally, I saw him and I was like, he looks just like the Sultan.
Crazy old Maurice is basically just my dad.
Classic man.
And now you're locked up with Mike.
I am the Beast.
Yeah, the Beast.
Hey!
Bit of Stockholm syndrome.
I don't know about that. I mean, there are some problematic things with this film, but I think that's what Ria's gonna going to tackle? Because Ria, you haven't said your big thing, because I was rambling on for so long about nothing.
First, I would like to say that when he was a lad, he ate 4 dozen eggs every morning to help him get large.
So we were
now
all
that
wong.
he's grown, he eats 5 dozen eggs, so he's roughly the size of
4 then 5, I see. So Ria was right, okay.
That's crazy amount of
Concede
eggs.
to you, Ria.
It is a crazy amount.
Not logical at all.
I think it's every day.
Every day, and like, does he have them fried, scrambled, raw, in a smoothie? Like,
I'm just imagining him like chugging them down.
Well, like in the actual
chicken.
animation, like they chuck the whole eggs, don't they?
Are they all raw? Does he eat them raw?
I think he eats them straight from the chicken. It's like a Pez dispenser.
Sucking them down.
Pull the tail. Yum yum.
Delish.
Oh dear.
Like a spud
Delish.
gun.
Shooting. I think that is. I'm pretty certain there's a game where you hold chicken and you shoot and it shoots eggs out. But I think it's like Alien Hominid or something like that.
Is another thing that Beauty and the Beast owes to, well, all the other films after Beauty and the Beast owes. Pixar animated the ballroom scene, so the ballroom on the spinning, and they developed a computer animated system called CAPS. And this was kind of very much the basis for what Pixar would then go on to do with like Toy Story and various other. And that was kind of, they used it a little bit in Mermaid and they used it a little bit in Rescuers Down Under, but this was a whole sequence. So this was a big job and a big deal. So to do, and it still looked like watching Beauty and the Beast in HD as well. Looking at some of the other ones, some of the older ones like Cinderella, they're a bit sketchy. You can see where the line art is and things like that. But Beauty and the Beast is just gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. And also, going back on a feminist rant again, this film is the first film where the heroine is not rescued by the prince. So
a Disney film that's ever had a female.
a female character that's been rescued by the male protagonist or whatever you want to call him. And I like to think that Belle is kind of the Batman of the Disney princesses because she doesn't have super strength. She doesn't have the sea helping her out. You know, she doesn't have magic hair. She is literally, all of it is down to her intelligence, craftiness, just willingness, sheer force of will and force of strength of character.
Oh, I know how to describe it. Her charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
That's good as well. That's all good.
That's from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Well, I mean, why not? There's some Disney princesses for you. If we're talking about it, there you go. I think again, you don't get a lot of these other films later on, characters that we've talked about without Belle. But that's just me. I'm on a Belle love scenario.
You're a Belle simp. It's fine.
I'm a Belle simp. Yeah, let's put it simply as that. And,
I'm for Meg as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and in Hercules. Ria, I did know. Is there
smooth?
Nice. With the Beauty and the Beast stuff, was there some sort of big? Because I don't think you've managed to say that much about Beauty and the Beast as of yet. Or am I just picking on you?
I have been so silent. I feel like Gaston. Nobody will listen to me and what my needs are. So I think it's really important to remember not remember for you, but to understand what impact Beauty and the Beast had on little girls at the time. So if you went to a party that was a Disney princess party, everybody was dressed up in big dresses, blonde hair, and like that was it. The only sort of difference we had was the Little Mermaid, which I loved as a kid. Very problematic now. Blah, blah, blah. But, still people didn't like Ria. It wasn't dressing up as Little Mermaid. It was always Cinderella. It was always Sleeping Beauty. They were always passive, beautiful princesses with gorgeous golden hair. That was the Disney princess. Beauty and the Beast came out, and suddenly all of us little, apparently boring, dark-haired girls who liked books were suddenly interesting. And it sounds really simple to distill it down to that. It's, obviously it's a lot more complex, but I had never seen a Disney princess that was me reflected on the screen. And so you talk to women my age and, even younger, I think, because you probably still would have watched them in the same order. And all of a sudden there was a princess who wasn't a princess to start with, who you understood who was you on the screen. I mean, I'm not going to go into diversity of Disney princesses because we're talking about this specifically, but it was crazy at the time. All of a sudden, people, you know, little girls wanted to go to parties with brown hair like yours. And that is hugely impactful. And that's why this film is, and it sounds so stupid and surface level, but that's why this film is really important to so many women. And it's exactly all the thing that Dan said. I cannot say it better than him. He has said it all. You know, she has her own agency. Even Ariel in Little Mermaid does not have her own agency. Things are done to her. You may have the best songs, but let's not talk about it. You know, and that had never been seen before. And it isn't until you're older that you realise the impact of that. I used to obsessively watch Beauty and the Beast, even as a teenager. Like, just like every weekend or something, you know, just like whack it on and watch it and just be like, oh my God, she loves books. Oh, have you seen this little thing that happens, you know, when she's in the library and she sees this thing? She's curious about seeing the flower. You know, she's not there to take the flower. She's not going to take the flower and run away. She's curious. She can see that there's something magical about it. There's something different. She's like her dad when he goes into the castle and picks up like the clock and wants to understand it. And that's what Belle wants to do in the castle. She wants to explore. She wants to understand things. But she can still be kind. Like, she is not so smart that nobody understands her, which is how people would play it today if we were making that film today. You know, she's still kind, she's still understanding, she gives the Beast a chance. She gives everybody in the castle a chance. She even kind of gives Gaston a chance, really. You know, kind of, like, she's a bit, she shouldn't, but, you know, he comes into the house, she does kick him out and everything, but if he was willing to change a little bit, you get the feeling that maybe she would be like, okay, maybe I'll consider it. And that we had never seen before. And that's why this film is really important within the Disney world, because it's just so new. And so I still remember my mind being blown. Like, she liked books, but she actually liked books. She went to a library and was bored by the books. I would go to the library and would be bored by the books I was told I was allowed to read. Like, mind gone.
And also she's a conventionally attractive person who likes books and things. That I know I'm not trying to reduce her down to that, but it's an element that I was only just thinking of. And I apologise for anyone who loves Beauty and the Beast and feels like I'm telling people it's not important, because obviously obviously it wasn't for me necessarily, but I'm glad that it was for so many individuals, and I'd never thought of those things, so I appreciate those perspectives. But also it's nice that she's not that sort of, you know, started the film with glasses, and then suddenly the glasses come off, the hair comes down, and suddenly a woman is sexy. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And only nerds can wear glasses. It's like,
I'll take my glasses off right now. I won't become any sexier. I guarantee it.
But you know, she chooses to love Beast as well. Mm-hmm. She doesn't fall in love with him. She chooses to love him. He lets her go, and she goes off. Again, she could stay in a lesser film. She would stay because she has been Stockholm syndromed, which lots of people like to throw at Beauty and the Beast, and I don't think that holds any water, really. No. She chooses to come back and love him. She thinks he's dead, and she's crying, and she says, I love you. She doesn't know that he's going to come back to life. As far as she's aware, he is dead. She loves him. She will move on with her life, and then he comes back to life as the prince, less sexy. So disappointing. But you know, she has choices throughout, and she makes those choices. Sure, she's still like in a world where there's restrictions on women, so she's having to, you know, it's almost Jane Austen. You know, she's having to make choices within restrictions, but she still gets to make choices. I'm going to say choices again. Choices.
Agency.
That's what women want. They want choices. They want the choice to do stuff. Not to be able to do stuff is shit. Give women the choice, for God's sake, in all opportunities.
Keep going. I felt like that was really going to get away from you.
No, I believe it. I believe it. That's it. That's my long and short feminist rant. Just give women choice and let them respect those choices. Boom.
Is there something to wrap it down and to wrap it down? I think that's the saying. Wind it down to slightly less how brilliant it is for women, how important it is. Just a question that I have. It's a silly question that doesn't ruin the film at all.
Love it. Come on.
The magical objects, they obviously sleep. So do they eat?
It's so weird, Mike. I don't know.
They didn't think about it at all.
Don't look into it because it's disturbing.
Because also, does it mean that if the Beast doesn't get someone to fall in love with him, does that mean all of the people that did they all stay? What did they do? Why did they all have to stay in like inanimate objects? They didn't do anything wrong.
That's what
like Lumiere wants to shag a duster, right?
I've been burned by you before.
Yeah, such a good line. But how would they actually do it? He's romancing her. To what end, Lumiere? You don't have a penis. She doesn't have a vagina. Like, it's so confusing. Don't think about it.
Ria, there are other ways of having sex. I don't know if you know this.
It's called outer course. Look, there's just lots of with Beauty and the Beast. Like I did enjoy it somewhat, but I said that I actually probably wouldn't watch it again in a rush. I said to Megan, I was like, I actually didn't. I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as I thought I would, if I'm completely honest. And that's not taking away from the film and its importance and stuff.
It's you don't appreciate the true amazement that is Angela Lansbury.
I think the problem is because the film is so... I've obviously seen the film before, and it's because it's so heavily referenced. And although the more intricate details of the plot are important, you know, it's quite a simple premise. And under that Disney guise, I'm not saying these other films aren't, but I feel like for me, it didn't land as much as I wanted it to. So although I think it is an important film, and... when I eventually have kids, I will definitely be showing them that, if only... Oh, I know Megan wouldn't let me not show them anyway, but because of what you guys have said, how important it is and stuff. But, like, for me as an individual rewatching it, like, I don't want to be a downer. This is one of my least favourite, I'd say, of the Disney films.
I'd agree that it's a relatively simple premise, but there is some incredibly complex ideas within that simple premise, I think, and they are explored as much as they can be within an hour and 24 minutes in a kids film as well. I think they explore them very, very well, you know, however briefly that may be. But it's a landmark film for Disney. It brought Disney back kind of from the brink a little bit as well, and it started a huge slew of Aladdin, Lion King. You know, there was a big, good run, a good solid run of some absolute bangers. And again, I think the future, the course of Disney might not be where it is today. You know, I think even in... Was it? No, I'm thinking of another company. But yeah, it might have been a totally different story for Disney. Like they've taken over the world now, but who's to know if, you know, after Black Cauldron and that slew of films, they could have gone right into their bin. But yeah,
because I haven't seen that either. So I think there's loads of these films. I
haven't seen it either, but I know of it.
I just haven't seen most B-list or C-list Disney films. So I've just seen all the best ones. And I think of all the best Disney films, for me personally, Beauty and the Beast is low, but I still think it's an objectively good movie.
I keep saying to Mike that I want to do a rewatch of all of the Disney films. But it's a big endeavour.
Too many.
And some of them aren't even on Disney Plus as well. Some stuff. You'd have to really hunt for those down.
You've seen Robin Hood, haven't you?
I can't remember anything about it at all.
Just
Maid Marian in that is an absolute fox.
Hey!
Nice. Well, I want to say with this, because I looked it up on Hercules, and I don't want to seem like I'm cheating Dan out of it, unless he already knows off by heart. But the director there's two directors basically of this film once again, and they did Beauty and the Beast, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Atlantis. They also wrote like a bunch of some of the Shrek sequels and things as well. But it was Gary Truesdale, and then Kirk Wise also was a director, and he did Beauty and the Beast and Atlantis as well. I saw Spirited Away was just on here, but I don't think he was. No, he definitely wasn't a director of that. Sorry,
he maybe directed the voice actors.
Sound department. He was on the sound department of Spirited Away. Oddly enough. And Prince and the Pauper, he was in the art department.
Oh no, I was just looking at what it was.
Oh, I thought that's what you were pointing to. You wanted me to announce it to people. I was like, okay.
I don't even know what that is.
He's this.
I haven't got my glasses on, and the picture looked like it was a Muppets Christmas Carol.
No, it wasn't, I'm afraid.
Well, we can only hope. We can only hope that every picture is a Muppets Christmas Carol.
That is.
I've got one last bit of trivia about Beauty and the Beast. In the Mandarin audio dub, Jackie Chan played the Beast.
Nice.
Oh, really?
That's cool.
That is cool. Is there anything anyone wanted to say about Beauty and the Beast before we move on to Ria's pick?
No. Let's move.
Yeah, but are you all right to finish it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally have just been nodding, being like, yeah, I'm fine to move on.
Mike, are you always asking for permission for everything?
I do a lot.
Yeah,
of the
he's
time.
my bitch.
Just so we know.
I don't think that's what I was going for. That wasn't quite it.
Get in your place.
Know your role.
It could be the other way around. Could this on a recorded podcast, or I'd get cancelled.
And so you should. You should.
Man, but it's empowering, so that's good. Sorry, Ria, please. We've alluded to it anyway, but please tell us what you're championing.
So we are about to talk about the most feminist Disney film there is, and possibly the best Disney film, Moana. Oh yeah, just let it sink in. You know it's amazing. You know it's good. You know you just want to start singing.
And that's the end of part 1. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. Part 2 will be out at the usual time. That's when we talk about Moana and Tangled. But if you can't wait that long and you want to support the show and you want to get access to an audio feed that has hours and hours of exclusive content you can't find anywhere else, please consider checking out my Patreon page, patreon.com/genuine chit-chat. If you contribute as little as £1 a month, which I think is about $1.50 for you Americans, then you get access to the audio exclusive feed that you can put into whatever podcast app you desire, or you can listen on the Patreon app or desktop site itself, and you basically get access to about 80 episodes of Afterthoughts, which is myself and Megan talking about either movies or TV series that we've seen. We've done Harry Potter movies, we've done Star Wars, we've done a lot of the MCU movies, we've done the newer ones that come out, and we've done those spoiler free when we get back from the cinema. We've also done none of those sort of main franchise films. We've done The Duke with Jim Broadbent that was out very recently. We did a spoiler free discussion on that. We've also done a numerous TV series where we do spoiler free discussions on that. We did one on the Book of Mormon that we went and saw recently. So there's a wide variety of just stuff that me and Megan get up to. Normally when we go on road trips as well, we normally record like a special episode just, well, on our phone in the car from whoever isn't driving, and just talk about our trips and things. So if you want a better insight into mine and Megan's life, as well as our relationship in general, the kind of stuff that we're watching and some of our opinions, and a lot of them are very, very funny. Primarily Megan's. Megan's opinions on a lot of stuff is very funny. Then please consider checking out our Patreon. And if you want a taster without having to spend any money at all, then you can go to the link in the description, which goes to our first Tom Hanks watch, because we are doing a big old Tom Hanks rewatch for the whole of 2022, and we started that off with Big, because Megan had never seen it somehow. So if you click the link in the description or just go to bit.ly/TomHanks1, then you get access to the Patreon post, which is open to all of you lovely people, so you can check that out for free. And then if you like the sound of that, then you can consider becoming a patron, and then you can listen to our other Tom Hanks episodes. I think we've released 2 others at the moment. I've got another one recorded. So we've done The Burbs, Turner and Hooch, Joe versus the Volcano, and then we've got A League of Their Own due and a few others before we get to Forrest Gump. We're going to do all the ones all the way up to today. We're not going to do series apart from I think we're going to do Band of Brothers. But if you want to hear about that, please consider checking that out. But what is there to say aside from Patreon plugging? Well, my friends, make sure you check out Ria and Spider-Dan's respective shows. Ria's got her own show, Femme on Film, on the feed of Comics in Motion. She's also got numerous episodes on the Pop Gorillas. She's also a part of Indie Comic Spotlight quite frequently, and she's obviously been on Genuine Chit-Chat at the tail end of 2021. I think she's on twice, actually, which is quite cool. And for Spider-Dan, he's got his own show, Spider-Dan and the Secret Boars. He has done, as well as the first Disney discussion show with Natalie, which is like 4 hours long. He's also done episodes with Angry Andy. I'm due to pop on the show in the coming months as well. And as a starting point, I'd say, aside from the Disney discussion conversation he has with Natalie, I'd say that the Star Wars holiday special he did with Angry Andy is brilliant. And if you check out his conversation with Ria's brother Jack, who is obviously on the feed of Comics in Motion and is also in Pop Gorillas and a lot of the other places you can find Ria, then check out their discussion on 1941, which is a Spielberg movie I'd never heard of, and judging by their critiques of it, I'm probably not going to watch. But you don't have to watch the film to enjoy their conversation on it, because it is a barrel of fun. So links to their relative social media and etc. is in the description. Make sure you give those guys all the love. But what have we got coming up on the feed of Genuine Chit-Chat over the next coming weeks? Well, I'm in talks with a Star Wars content creator that I'm very excited about, so I'm just waiting for Disney to approve some of the questions that I've written for them, and then hopefully we'll get that underway, so I'm very excited about that. There's a couple of other individuals somewhat involved in Star Wars that I'm hoping to have on the show this year that I've reached out to. In addition to that, there's a couple of comic book people that I'm going to have on the show, and a couple of people who have confirmed. There's someone who has a true crime podcast that I'm very excited to speak with. There's also a couple of artists that I've reached out to, 2, 1 or 2 are returning, a couple of new ones, as in musical artists and things. So I'm trying to get a bit of a wide variety for this year. I'm trying to, as I always try and do, I try and make each week slightly different from the last. I know that this time I had a conversation with Spider-Dan and then had another conversation with Spider-Dan, which does happen sometimes, but I am trying to make them slightly varied each week so you guys get a nice wide berth of conversation matter. But aside from that, always make sure you check out the show notes for my menagerie of guest spots. I've got a few more lined up for this year, but the most recent one I have done was actually on Star Wars Timeline. So I went on there for the 5th time in the last year. The first time I went on Star Wars Timeline was to compare the 3 trilogies of Star Wars together. Then the next 3 times was me and Ben, who's the host, talking about each individual sequel trilogy movie for about 2 hours ago. Links to that in the description. But the most recent one was me and Ben talking about accents in Star Wars, which is not something I'd ever really considered until me and Ben started talking about it. So we talk about how each character's accents and the way they talk really has a good showing of their character and how it affects Star Wars as a whole. And it was a really cool conversation. That one primarily focused on the original trilogy with a bit of stuff from the prequel trilogy, but there's so much to talk about. We are undoubtedly going to do a part 2 of that as well. So make sure you look out for that. Obviously go subscribe to Star Wars Timeline. And if you want to support Genuine Chit-Chat, but you don't want to do it financially over on Patreon, then that is okay. You can support it in a wide variety of other ways. You can write reviews for it on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict or Good Pods. You can just rate it on Spotify. You don't even need to write anything on there. You can share with your friends. You can share on social media to people who aren't your friends. Also, you can subscribe to the channel on YouTube, because once I get past 100 subscribers, then I can change the channel link name, which I've been wanting to do for a while. But I know that almost no one listens on YouTube, which I appreciate, which is why I've been putting a lot more YouTube content on there. If you listen to my episodes of Star Wars Comics and Canon, they're all in playlists over there. If you listen to Genuine Chit-Chat, which I assume you are because you're listening to this part, then all of my conversations there are also in playlists to do with genre and things. So it's a nice, easy way to kind of, if you're a new listener for Genuine Chit-Chat or Star Wars Comics and Canon, it's a really good way to kind of find your way and listen to the episodes that may appeal to you. In addition to that, the majority of my conversations do have video now. It depends on the guest, if the guest isn't comfortable with it or if it just doesn't work for any reason, then I don't bother with it necessarily. But a lot of the guests are happy to have video recorded of them, and this conversation is no different. So we'll be releasing the video conversation of our chat on YouTube when part 2 drops. So it'll be the full episode there, so I don't have to split it and stuff, because my laptop takes forever to export video files. It literally takes it out for like a day to do that. So lots of reasons to subscribe on YouTube, and anyone who does that I do appreciate greatly. But I do appreciate any of you guys, even if you don't rate and review, even if you don't share on social media, even if you don't contribute on Patreon, or even subscribe on YouTube. I want you to know that I appreciate you massively for just taking the time out of your day to listen to my show. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys for listening as always, and I will be back next week with part 2 of the Disney discussion.
You have just experienced host, creator, everything elser of Genuine Chit-Chat, and also the host and creator of Star Wars Comics and Canon, found on the Comics in Motion podcast, Mike Burton.